System, because there may be people joining us on the web. If you're going to use the mics, please do when you speak. What you have to do is push the little button against the above the word that says pile, and when you're on, it shows green. So try it out. Make sure you know what it goes. I'll push it. It turns green, and when you're finished speaking, just turn it on. Noise. Okay, are we ready? Don, are you okay?
Chairman, I think we're reminded that we have to put our mouth or our face close to the microphone. Is that right?
Yeah. But that,
Down here to there you go.
okay, try it again. Try Don. Turn on, try speaking.
Testing, 1, 2.
He's on. Okay. So anything else we need to do? Okay, we'll start the meeting at 10:05. I call the meeting to order, and we will start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Dock, would you please do the roll call?
Here.
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 Okay, so we have a quorum.
Mr. Chairman.
Turn your speaker on.
Mr. Chairman, since this is public and there may be people on the outside who are listening, I think it would be helpful during roll call to call the full name of the member present so that people know who's here.
Okay. Karen, would you please read the full names? We're all present. Just read the names so anybody's aware. Speak into your mic, please. Thank you.
Scheim, Jim Deidelhoff, Dan Nelson, Don Seep, and Lee Van Lent.
Thank you. Okay. You're certainly welcome. So we've done the roll call number 3. Number 4, approve this agenda and its posting. All in favor of this agenda? Any additions? All in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, the agenda's been approved. Review and approval of December 18th meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read them through? Are there any additions, corrections to be made? Hearing none, I say that they are approved. Or may I do that, or is that something we need to do as a group? Should we approve the minutes? Yeah, I suppose we should. Okay, seeing no objection, I do approve the minutes from last meeting, December 18th. Okay, before we start with public input, we are starting a new membership today on this particular commission. We have a new member, Sherry Hillersheim. Did I say that correct?
Pronunciation is Hillesheim.
Hillesheim. Excuse me if I mispronounce it.
It's okay.
What I'd like to do is to go around to kind of introduce ourselves to each other. I can begin, and then we'll just kind of go around the table. My name is Lee Van Landite. I'm an Air Force veteran, serving from 1964 to 1968, both here in the United States and in Europe, Germany, France, and England. Would you?
My name is Jim Deidelhoff. I live up in Casanova.
I spent 20 years in the Air Force, and then I rode a dump truck for 20 years, and now I'm fully retired.
Thank you. Karen, would you like to, as the CVSO? Okay. Sherry, as your machine on? Thank you.
Raised on a farm near Muscadet, graduated from the high school here, and went into nursing out in Denver after I hitchhiked across country. That was probably more information than you needed. Anyway, and served 20 years it started out in the Army National Guard out in Denver, and then switched over to active duty Air Force and finished up my 20 years. Oh gosh, I don't even want to tell you what year. It's been a while. But anyway, enjoyed doing holistic wellness education through my writings now. So thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Good to be with you all. I really appreciate being on because I really feel strongly about how our vets get what they need. So I'm glad to support that any way I can.
With your background, I'm sure you'll be a welcome addition. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
It's good to have a woman on the board too.
Oh, stop.
We're way overstocked with men. Okay, Don, would you go, please?
Mr. Chairman. Yes, welcome, Sherry, and it is good to have. I think this is the first time we've ever had a woman on our commission in the years that I've been on the county board. And so I think those fresh eyes from a woman's viewpoint are very good for us. We have lots of women veterans who are in need of assistance, and they serve nobly throughout our armed forces. So welcome aboard. I would like to comment. I hadn't met you before, but I really want you to know that I appreciate reading your column in the paper. It's a great service to the community. My name is Don Seep, and like Jim Deideloff, I hail from the hinterland of the northeast Richland County near Cazenovia. I was born and raised there, and I was in the Air Force for 4 years. I worked about 30 years in the human services field, mostly on the West Coast. I was headquartered in Portland, Oregon, but I also was responsible for Los Angeles and Seattle territory. I enjoy very much working on this committee. In my career, I worked very closely with the Veterans Administration. We hired and trained a lot of people in our rehabilitation center, in our life skills center, in our alcohol treatment programs, and our drug rehabilitation programs, as well as providing housing for some of our returning veterans. So I have a great empathy for our veterans and a great concern for their welfare. And as all of you know, I have a great concern for the respect for their dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seep. Next, we have Van Nelson.
Be a little shorter. I'm an Army veteran. I retired from the state of Wisconsin with the DOT. I'm a county board supervisor from the town of Una Vista.
Okay, thank you. And we also have a person here who happens to be our county administrator, and I'd like him to introduce himself and say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, Clint Langrick, your county administrator. Prior service, United States Army, and 3 years National Guard after that. So thank you for having me.
You're certainly welcome, and thank you for being here. Okay, introduction's over. Is there any input from the public? Anybody have anything to say, bring up? Yes, ma'am. Would you please state your name? Okay, there will be public input prior to our dismissal. Anything else? Okay, we'll leave it at that then. We've covered number 7. Now we'll go to 8. Pass out the agenda given, given to the participants for the 5-day seminar held at Siren, Wisconsin, and a brief written statement sharing your experiences. This will be Karen Knock for the commission members. So Karen, would you please take over?
In front of you.
Okay. We've been given a written report. Would you please guide us through it?
This is the second report I've given. I gave the verbal one last month, and this month you asked for a written statement, and that's on the back page of the agenda that you asked for.
As I remember, there was very little given verbally except for the fact that you had rented your own place outside of the doings. Would you please restate that then?
I said that the night before I stayed with a friend that lived about 30 miles away from there. So that's why I didn't have any mileage up, is because I went up the day prior on Sunday, and then I stayed with them overnight. Besides that, I stayed in a hotel.
Okay, so that was the night prior, but done during the meeting?
Yeah,
you
just
were
everything I
actually there?
reported last month.
Okay. What we are, as a board, interested in is finding out, when I'm a retired teacher, and I went to a number of meetings, and I've been clerk of session for churches, and anytime we went to represent our group, we came back with written information about what it is that we had done, what we saw, what we experienced, what we learned. And this is kind of what I am looking for from you, to share with us the 5 days that you spent away. What were the things that you found beneficial to your understanding of your job?
And the agenda is in front of you of everything that we covered.
Would you please give us a verbal statement?
That we learned new forms that have come out, and caretakers benefits and update for just everything that I covered last month. And then the agenda is in front of you of everything that we covered. If you had any specific questions.
Well, just kind of an overview of the things that were said, because 5 days is a long time to sit at meetings. And did they cover specific topics? Now, you mentioned a couple in general, but I was wondering what it is that you came away with.
I guess I can answer specific questions if you have any. The agenda's right there in front of you. If you had any specific questions about it. As an overview, it was a wonderful conference, and I put the written statement on the back page.
Okay. Could you tell me what made it wonderful?
The variety of presenters and the information that was put out, I guess.
Is there anything that you picked up there that you could bring back to this office and help our veterans with? Anything specific?
There were some new forms that the VA came out with.
Okay, any changes in policy, anything that would help our veterans more than what they're already being helped?
There's potential changes that were coming down that were given in our legal brief.
Okay, and that would be because of the new presidency now, or what caused that?
No, it's just policy.
Just within the policy. Okay, Jim, did you have any questions of Karen on this subject? Okay. Don, I'm sorry, Sherry, you're next. Sherry, do you have any questions? Turn your speaker on, please.
A little closer.
Having not attended, I've attended lots of conferences. And so typically what's nice to have is, while that's happening, if you wouldn't mind taking some notes along the way so that you have those to refer to, then to bring back to report to this committee or to this board. what you've learned, because we need to know that, I would think. I would like to know that.
Yes.
And so yes, but that only tells me what happened. It doesn't tell me what you gained and what you picked up that was best for us to know. So I think that would be helpful, going forward, getting some more notes so that we can understand what you've learned.
Okay. Thank you. Don, do you have any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Karen indicated that she would be more comfortable if we just ask her questions. And so, how many counties were there?
Out of the 72 counties and the tribes, there were quite a few people that had logged online and followed it that way.
Virtually.
There were some counties that wouldn't allow their CVSOs to come, so they took a week's worth of vacation and went and traveled on their own, and they weren't reimbursed for anything. So,
Really? Why wouldn't they allow them to come? You don't
for
know.
travel purposes, I assume. I don't know for sure.
So
So there were some people that were hiding in their rooms. There were some people that were in the conference room, and there were people that were logged in online.
I
So-
see.
so
So
I
there
don't
was
have-
an option to participate virtually?
There was, and they came out with that after I had already paid to attend.
I see.
So the known number of how many people were logged in versus how many people were in the conference room versus how many people were hiding in their rooms, I would have no idea, because every day was different.
So
Some people had-
you seem to be saying that had you known,
The conference room was full.
yes.
It was full. Everybody was social distancing appropriately, but the conference room was full.
So had they informed you ahead of time that it was virtual, you could have done it from here.
I could have, yes.
Oh, that's too bad. Those things happen. So we had to pay the registration fee, and it was the same for virtual as for being there personally.
I wasn't virtual, I'm not sure.
Pardon?
I wasn't virtual, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but would it have been the same for virtual?
I'm not sure.
Oh, you don't know. Okay. Well, it's very important that we take advantage of opportunities to participate in educational programs for our CVSO and staff. And also, it's important that we have good board education. And that's a collaborative venture between staff and the CVSO, the commission itself. And so I think that is probably what our chair was getting at, is that board education is an important function of this commission to help it gain a broad understanding of the role of the Veteran Service Office, the functions and duties and responsibilities of that office, and the functions of the commission itself. So I think that's probably part of what our chair was addressing. And so I'm hopeful that in the future, when there are issues that are of significance to our veterans, that you may consider having an agenda item for a board education. I don't have any other questions at this time, Karen. I kind of agree with the chair that it would have been nice to have a narrative presented to the board, giving us a report of significant elements of the conference, and perhaps that can be done in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you, Mr. Seep. Okay, Dan Nelson.
I'm going to reiterate what Don Seif said, but if you sat through all of these meetings there must have been plenty of highlights that stood out in any of these programs. I mean, if there was updates in housing or sensitivity training or any of these things, there must have been something that stood out in all of these categories that might have been interesting or something that the committee should have been shared with.
Okay, thank you. What I had asked for was what you gave us here, which was the agenda, but I also asked for a brief written statement. And on the last page, this is not a written statement. It's simply a series of facts that were with that. So what I was looking for was your personal experience here. And in the future, this is something I will require, that if and when you go to meetings, that you actually come back and give us a synopsis of what it is that you had experienced so that we can share with you what it is that you learned. So please be prepared to do that. Are there any other comments? Mr. Langrick, any additions?
Sir, I have a question. Ooh, drat. Uh-oh,
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
go to Clinton, then we'll come back to you, okay?
I have no further comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Sherry?
How often do these boards or do these meetings happen?
That holds them, so there's
Excuse me, could you use the mic?
it's on, Don.
Could you get a little closer to it? We can't hear you.
There's several different opportunities to attend different trainings like this.
Which ones do you attend of those that you've mentioned? I'm just on such a learning curve.
No, that's fine. I welcome the committee to come into my office and ask as many questions as you want. So any follow-up after this meeting, you are more than welcome to come into the office. There are several different ones at several different levels. Like for the year 2021, I will attend one conference. Last year, due to COVID, there were many that were canceled, so I only attended one. Typically, there's a spring and a fall.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, anyone? Okay, so from here on out, if you would please come back and be prepared to give us kind of an overview as to what it is that you learned. It's very important that we as a team are a part of this knowledge. So do you have anything further you'd like to say, Karen? Okay. Okay, then we can move on to number 9. On the back side of the sheet, pass out and outline the budget figures for the coming year and review of the current available funds and expenses by category. And you gave us a handout here. As 3 of us are board members, 2 are appointed by the board, the county board. We represent the state of Wisconsin and also Richland County at this meeting. And so we kind of overview what it is that your office does, not to presuppose anything, not to get involved, but we need information to have you share with us. We've got the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Fund, which we must know something of. And in the year that I've been on, I've not heard anything about it. And so I think from here on out, if you would please, give us some statistics as to what it is that, the expenditures and things for your office. Now, I know you go through other county committees for approval, finance and that. But as a group that kind of oversees your office, we need to know this information too. So if you take a moment, please, to go through the sheet that you passed out to us so that, I've never seen any of this before. So please review what it is that's on these sheets.
After you've had a chance to review it, any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer.
It was just handed to us by you,
Yeah.
And if you'd go to the very first page that you gave to us, essentially what is here? How would you describe this?
That's the grant. It's highlighted up at the top.
Okay, explain what the grant is, please.
That's the thing that we covered a couple months ago, the $8,500 that's given from the state. I have to apply for it.
How much was that?
$8,500,
Okay,
just what we talked about a couple months ago.
I vaguely remember that. I know we talked about it, we passed it.
And then this is the paper in front of you that covers it.
Okay, now I have no idea what this grant money is for. Where does it go? What's its purpose?
It goes into this account right here,
Okay, now what is this account?
the Veterans Grant account.
Okay, and how is that used?
Part of it goes towards salaries. Part of
Okay.
it goes towards technology for the office. Part of it goes towards advertising. It's on the
Okay,
sheet.
so each of those are categories that I'm really not very familiar with. What kind of advertising do you do?
Advertising is covered under business cards, printer ink. If we buy, like we have a table at Pine Valley that we have set up for, that holds brochures. I mean, anything, some CBSOs buy billboards. We were going to use part of the advertising money this past year for holding a VetCon. But due to COVID, everything kind of got shut down. So.
Okay, that sounds interesting. What now, when you talk about VetCon, what would that be?
It would be basically birth to death, children of veterans, parents of veterans, before DEERS enrollment, any type of Army benefits, Air Force benefits. We have a great new organization that's come into the county as far as service dogs. We have another one that covers LGBTQ soldiers and veterans. It's just a big, huge room to hold it all in so that every person that has any affiliation with veterans can get out new information. It's just a huge setup of different benefits and stuff like that. And then there was also Agent Orange and Burn Pit Registry has been they've combined, and so there's a great group of guys that are going around the country, and they're giving briefings and PowerPoints on burn pits and Agent Orange at the same time, which is wonderful because it covers not just one generation of veterans, it covers many, many generations of veterans. And we were going to hold one of those. That fell through due to COVID, but those are the kinds of things. We also have a cemetery meet and greet. Actually, we have one of the committee members. I formed a committee, Dave B., myself, Marge Freeman, and we had a cemetery meet and greet. And we have a cemetery official. I think it's important for veterans to have afterlife care just as well as in life. So we invite a bunch of people to come for a cemetery meet and greet. They talk to historians. We have speakers come. We're due to have another one of those. Those are the kinds of things that a advertising budget would cover. The home rental, $75, etc.
Excellent answer. Thank you very much. Those things that we missed last year because of COVID, will those be readdressed this year possibly?
Absolutely. Hopefully.
Okay. That's something that I think this group would be extremely interested in. So as this progresses, please make sure we stay informed so we can participate in that.
Any upcoming events, I always listed on the agenda.
Yeah. But, I'd like you just now did, I'd like to hear this in detail because otherwise this is information we wouldn't get any other way unless we read it in the paper. And here we've got the source, and I want to make sure that we are, knowledgeable of all these things. Okay, so that was the Veteran Service Grant. Yes, sir, Mr. Seep.
Karen, have we hosted one of those vet conferences?
It's never been held in Richland County before. They had one in Dane County, La Crosse County, Juneau County, just for local but we've never hosted one in Richland County before, and that's why I was very excited to do it.
Did you attend one of those?
Yes.
Do a lot of people show up?
Yes. The one at the Alliance Center was massive.
So if we were to host that here, where would we do it?
I was going to host it at the community center. We would need the gymnasium for that.
All right. Do you have to put together a budget for that?
No.
Okay. Do they charge you at the community center?
Well, considering that we're a county office and they're affiliated with the county office, I would assume that there would be little to no.
Okay. Well, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seep. Any other questions, comments? Anyone? Okay, thank you, Karen. That was wonderful. One thing I became aware of just very recently is the Soldiers and Sailors Fund. Could you tell us what that is and where we are at? Because I understand that if someone were to apply, and I can't imagine this past year with COVID and everything that's going on, that there's not a lot of service personnel that are out there that would not be in need of this assistance. And I believe as chair, if you came to me with something, that I would sign it and then the voucher would go out to help that person. And I, like I said, I just became aware in the last week about this. And so this is something I'd like to know more about. Could you explain what that is, please?
It's covered under the state statutes, 45.81, and you can read the commission.
Well, would you please give us a verbal indication as to what's
Yep,
there?
but that's where you could find additional
know,
information. Okay,
I
so
picked it up, but I don't quite understand all of it.
it's
So
based on the tax base. You guys determine if it's enough or if it's not enough. That's something that. Okay. It's taxed. It's added to the population's taxes, property taxes, and you guys determine whether it's appropriate or not. And then the money sits in an account here in the county. And again, that's covered under the state statutes about how you would approve it. I have taken an application from different county, Green Lake County, Clark County, and other counties have pirated it basically, and just, no need to reinvent the wheel. So it's just a application that anybody that would like to apply for it is welcome to fill that application, and then I would put together any type of evidence. And if you asked for additional evidence, I would put that together, and then you would either approve or disprove it. We have some veterans that had some financial difficulties this year, and the state, the WDVA, has made readily funds available, and so all the help that I have had this year, has funneled through them. And that's the reason why we haven't had any. In the almost 6 years that I've been here, we have used that fund one time. And we had a veteran who his father lived with him, who was also a veteran, and they had a house fire. That's the only time we've used that fund.
and how long ago was that?
Right when 4.5 years ago.
Okay. So what was the amount that they were awarded? How did we help them?
It was, it was a hotel for the first 2 nights, I believe, until they found friends and relatives to stay with, and some vouchers, not from us, but the vouchers from local veterans organizations to help them with Walmart and clothes and
Okay.
stuff like that. But the hotel was the big one.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Kind of an aside to the same point. In this community, do you have any idea how many homeless vets that we have that live in this community?
2.
We have 2.
Mm-hmm.
And do they apply for any of this assistance through your office?
We have one that's seasonal. He just kind of comes and goes. He knows who I am. We speak. I check on him. The other one knows who I am and has sought some help through the state program for housing just recently, just very, very recently.
Okay. Does he do that through your office, or does he travel to Madison, or?
No. They, COVID, the representatives, the field reps, theoretically they're not supposed to travel right now during
Yeah.
this whole thing.
Right.
I have insisted that they come specifically for one of them, and they did come to my office and they met in a neutral place where he felt safe.
Great. And part of your advertising then would reach out to people like them within the community. Is there any way of reaching out? How would we do that?
I'm part of the homeless coalition here in Richland County,
Okay.
and I participate in the point in time count.
Thanks.
The point in time counts homeless population, and if any veterans are located, I have a standing offer that I will pay for a membership for a veterans organization for them that they're eligible for. It's just kind of a way for them to keep socially and a way to check on them on a regular basis.
Great. Is there anything that we as a board or a commission can do to help in that respect, or just our support to you?
Yeah, no,
Okay. Does anybody else, Don Seep?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What are we doing to let veterans in the community, the veteran community, know that there is a fund available for needy veterans? Are we?
the WDVA has
Yes.
they,
Are we doing anything locally with
I pass along a lot of their online posts and things that they share. I attend quite a few veterans meetings, committee meetings, and like the VFW, and I give a monthly report
Yes.
to all the local veterans.
Okay, there are lots of veterans in the county. The majority of them by far do not belong to a veterans organization.
We also do radio. We have different articles that are posted in the newspaper. I do quite a bit of outreach.
I've not seen anything about assistance to needy veterans in the newspaper.
No, we don't post. It's very expensive to post just different articles about me
Oh,
and
well,
my office.
I'm talking about an article. I haven't seen a news release in the paper. Have we done that?
No, it's very expensive to post in the newspaper.
No, I'm not saying to pay for it. I'm saying, have we asked the newspaper to accept a news release regarding this assistance available for veterans? That's a news article.
Okay.
Have we done that?
No.
Okay. Are we sending press releases or news releases to the radio station to inform the community that if there's a needy veteran who needs assistance, perhaps they can't pay their rent, perhaps they're having trouble with their medical assistance, perhaps they're being evicted, perhaps they just can't put food on the table, they're unemployed. They can come to see you for any number of reasons.
Yes, we advertise our office frequently.
You advertise your office, but not that specific fund. That specific assistance is not advertised. Is that right?
It's advertised by the state,
No, I'm talking about the county aid fund.
right?
That's
in the state statutes. That's covered by the state statutes. Soldiers and sailors
okay.
money.
I understand that. Here's my question. You note that there's only been one expenditure in the 5 or 6 years that you've been here. And that strikes me as very unusual given the poverty rate in Richland County and given the difficulty that returning veterans and many other veterans have in terms of maintaining just food, clothing, and shelter, let alone other things. So what happens if a veteran comes into your office? There was a rule, and maybe it's changed. There was a rule that the state Department of Veterans Affairs would not render assistance until first the county had rendered assistance out of its county aid fund. Now, has that rule been nullified?
Yes.
Why?
Due to COVID.
Oh, due to COVID. You mean during, is that going to continue after COVID?
There's no
Well,
way
that's
that
understandable.
I can't know that. That would be a
Okay.
question for the
All right,
state.
so before COVID, we've had COVID since January. Before we got hit with COVID, you have about 5 years where that fund sat still with no money spent out of it to help needy veterans. Why?
There are many, many, many places that they can get funding from. Many places.
No?
So they have been routed to the VFW has a state fund where they will cover. There's Heat for Heroes. They give away free vehicles to veterans that show that they need a veteran or
Okay.
vehicle.
I understand that.
So they're getting a lot of help. It's just not coming directly out of the county funds.
So you have had veterans come to your office, ask for assistance, and instead you referred them to the local veterans.
I help them apply for benefits from places that they can get immediate help.
Do they require an application from your office? If you're going to send them over to the VFW or the American Legion?
I don't send them over. I help them prepare the paperwork and I help them apply for it. That's what I do in my office, is help them apply for benefits.
With the local veterans group?
No,
Local service organization, or with the state, which?
all of the above. From many, many sources, many, many, many sources.
Well, I'm puzzled why we have not spent any money out of this fund for 5 years.
Like I said, the last time the last time was the house fire from veterans.
The what?
The house fire,
Yes.
the emergency fund.
Okay, there's another fund that's exists. It's called the Teddy Rue Fund. It's in the Richland County Bank. What is the status of that fund?
I checked on that. It was a donation that was made by a
Could you speak up, please?
There was a donation that was made by a local veteran, and it's been sitting in the bank. I've inquired about it many times to different people about what is the purpose, why was it here, why was it donated, and no one seems to really know. It was before my time.
I'd like to ask our administrator to,
He's not here.
He stepped out. He had another meeting to attend.
Mr. Chairman, would you communicate to our administrator that we would like a report on that fund, its purpose, and for what expenditures?
And what was the name of
could
the
be
fund
made
again,
from it?
please?
It's called the Teddy Rue Fund,
Teddy
and it's in the
Rue.
Richland County Bank.
Teddy Rue, R-U-A-H. How do you spell Rue?
If it's available for needy veterans, great. It just shouldn't sit there.
I know that it was questionable. There were many questions about when I got this job because donations were not allowed to take them. And so
What was that? Donations were not allowed to what?
the office is not allowed to accept donations.
From the community?
Correct.
And
That's
where
not a
did
county rule.
That's CVSO
You
rule.
cannot, a CVSOs can't accept a personal gift. No employee can, but
Donations to the office.
donations to the county
Correct.
in
And
the
that's
name of
why
the Veteran
it's not
Services can
specific
be made.
to the Veteran Service Office.
If
It was given
somebody
to the
comes to your
county,
veterans office and makes a donation of cash, it goes into the county fund
not my
and is
office.
credited to the veterans.
Correct, not my office.
But
It's not for my office. It's donated to the county, not specifically just to my office.
well,
The fund can be pulled by any office. I don't control it.
Let me interject, Don.
pardon?
Let me interject. I've got a couple questions. Now, when we talk about the Teddy Rue Fund that's at the Richland County Bank, do you have any idea how much that's worth?
No, it's not my account. I have no idea anything about it.
So, but it belongs to the veterans? Is that who it was donated to?
No, it was donated to the county.
So it's beyond where we're at.
It's restricted for veterans.
Okay, we've got somebody here to speak to that. Please state your name and tell us. Start over, please.
Sandra Kramer, previous CVSO of Richland County. The Teddy Rue account was in place prior to me taking the job in 2001, excuse me. It was set up by a private citizen. who came to the county, and for some reason, the county, he got in an argument with someone. Do not know what. So what he did, instead of the county taking care of like the aid account, what he did is he set up, Chairman.
You have a mic.
The gentleman was a private citizen. He was a World War II veteran. He is buried at Pine Valley Cemetery right across from Walmart. Oh, and what he did is he set this account up for veterans to use if they needed any type of help. We didn't touch it a lot. It is in the Richland County Bank. However, the county tracks this money, but it cannot be used for anything else but a veteran in need. And that's the way it was set up prior to my time even. I do know a previous county board supervisor always questioned that, but it was something that was set up prior, a long time ago, and it's still sitting there. But if a veteran needs the money, then that's what it's supposed to be used for. The veteran usually comes to the office, to the Veteran Service Office, and request help. If there's no money left in the aid account, then the Teddy Rue account will be used.
How does Karen access that? Is that something she's able to do?
She herself and myself were not able to access it personally. We had to go up with a voucher to the county clerk's office and request money out of that specific account. And it had to also be approved by the commissioners.
You're speaking of the commissioners here?
Yes, sir.
Because that's something I don't know that any of us are aware of. How much money is in that account? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. It can't be very much.
Yeah, because I think maybe this is something we should probably talk with the county chairman about to see whether or not we can get that released. There's no sense in sitting there collecting dust when we got veterans in need.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make it a point to speak with Marty Brewer about that and see if there's something we can do prior to our next meeting to give this money to somehow to the veterans so they can be used. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Thank you for
You're
your
welcome.
input. So we need to find out.
Chairman?
But this still has to start with the CVSO, right? It still has to start someplace.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's where it starts.
Yes.
So the CVSO should be aware of what that is. And
yes.
So I think that's what we're going to have to do is make sure she is aware.
Right.
Because it does start there.
It does start there,
Okay.
and a voucher has to be made out.
Right. But that's where it starts.
It does.
Very good. Thank you, Sam.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Nancy?
I would offer a motion that we authorize CVSO to confer with our corporation counsel, Mr. Southwick, and get a determination of the status of the fund, the balance of the account, and an opinion as to how we can transfer that to the county and have it placed, credited to the veterans for the specific purpose of helping needy veterans.
Okay, Karen, is that something that you could deal with? Okay, now, Don, is that are you moving that? Okay,
The motion, I think, would you restate my motion, Karen?
this proceeding is being recorded. So
Okay,
Karen,
that's
you can
fine.
get that off the recording directly, okay? Would you work with Karen on that? Okay, we'll work with you on that so you get all the wording as it was stated, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. But is that something that you would find helpful for yourself with? Yeah, so Yeah, so we've got the move and we can have that seconded then? Okay.
Discussion?
Okay, wait a minute. We need to say that Van Nelson seconded the motion and now we can do discussion. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, Sandy? Sandy Kramer?
There, it was also noted that the Teddy Rue account, every time there was a budget with money put into there for aid for veterans from the county tax levy, every year that budget would have to be renewed. So if there was money left in that aid account, it doesn't automatically roll over. You start over again, brand new, every budget year, if I'm correct. And the Teddy Rue account was money that was there. But if you put it into the county general fund account, the money that's there, you don't use it, it's gonna go, the next budget year, it's not there anymore for you.
So it essentially would be lost.
Yes.
Is there any way we
Mr.
can get
Chair.
around that? Van
Mr.
Nelson?
Chairman,
That's why it should go to corporate counsel.
Okay,
He can answer those.
so Don's suggestion to go to corporate counsel might clarify this for the, so we don't lose it. Don, please go ahead.
right, and the Corporation Council could prepare a resolution to define and restrict that fund for a specific use and prevent it from any way disturbing the county aid fund. And I think that's the point you were making. Ms. Kramer, is that the point you were making? Very good. And I think the Corporation Council can be very helpful to us with that. I had one other question. I forgot that Jim has been, Mr. Jim Dydloff has been on this commission commission/committee for a number of years. And that really is a matter that fund for needy veterans is a matter that's dealt with by specifically statutorily the Veterans Commission, not the committee at large. And Jim, do you recall the commission ever meeting for the specific purpose of awarding benefits to veteran?
When I first started on this commission, almost every month, we would have vouchers that we would have to approve and assign to boss man, whoever was in the chair there,
Yes.
had to sign it after we approved it to hand out money to various people throughout the county. And that money come from various funds, some from grant money, some from the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act, and some from somewhere. But this fund you're talking about, I had never ever heard of it until today.
I see.
So I don't know how old it is. I have no idea how much money is in there. But if it has a substantial amount of money in it, then you could conceivably use the interest off it and have that money for future years. But if you roll it out,
It's between $2,000 and $3,000. Doesn't amount to much.
well, so you need to start somewhere to find out what's there and what restrictions, because the bank probably has a limit, has a list of restrictions on who can use it and who can't.
So
So you got to start there somewhere.
So there must have been a point somewhere where the commission was notified by the state that it was no longer required to use the county aid fund first before having a veteran apply for aid. Because as Karen says, they no longer require that you utilize county aid funds from the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Fund. And so therefore, she can apply for state aid directly without utilizing local resources. Is that correct? Is that a proper statement of what you said?
Well, about 3 years ago or so, after you retired off of the commission, we quit doing those vouchers because that particular portion was rolled over to across the road. And they were paying out the money and not us.
Well, that was merely for transportation.
So we haven't signed a voucher here for money in a couple of years at least.
The only funds that were transferred to Human Services were, and Karen knows this, was the $8,500 transportation grant, which was turned over, the check was turned over to Human Services, and they were transporting veterans out of that fund, and they were submitting the names to Karen for reimbursement. I think that's the way it went. Is that right? Okay, so that has nothing to do with that transportation fund. It has nothing to do with the needy aid to needy veterans funds. Jim, the county, there's a county fund that's set up for aid to needy veterans, part of the Sailors and Soldiers Relief Fund. I think we've belabored this enough, but we want to make sure, I just want to say this, we want to make sure that if we have assistance available to needy veterans, that we need to do all that we can to help them and to let them know through a public information program and through our veterans organizations that if they're aware of someone who needs help, that they should come to the Veterans Service Office, and we should not let that $2,000 or $3,000 of county aid money just sit there year after year when there are people who are suffering. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
The question has been called. We've got it moved and seconded that this Teddy Roof Fund be looked into, that it be referred to council to find out how it is that we might forward this to veterans that are in need at this time. Karen, you have one last comment?
No, I just wanted to clarify. So I am going to be contacting Corporation Council, and getting details and specifics and reporting back to this committee. Or do you want it emailed to you as I find out? Or do you want it discussed at the next committee so I know to put it on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify.
Okay, what I'd suggest is that you, when you find out, why don't you
He made the motion, so.
email all of us and that maybe bring it up at the next meeting. Don, go ahead.
If I could clarify the intent of my motion.
Yes, please.
If you would just send him a letter asking advice on the Teddy Roof Fund, let him know what the account number is. If you don't know, he could find out the balance of it, and tell him that the committee wants an opinion from him as to how that can be used and whether it should stay there or whether it needs to be could be transferred to the county and a resolution prepared. All of that. You could have a telephone conversation with him in addition to your letter, but formalize the request in a letter. So there's a paper trail. So the motion was very clear, I think. Just look into the Teddy Roof Fund with him.
Okay, we have this
Is that clear enough?
vote to be made now. Thank you, Don. All in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's passed. So Karen, thank you very much. One other thing along these lines, we've talked about public notification of, to deal with veterans in need. And I'm wondering, I know that the local radio station, WRCO, and the local newspaper, the Richland Observer, either Ron Fruit or Don Kiefer, would probably be amenable to publishing articles that reach out to veterans as a public service to indicate that through your office they can gain some temporary help that would come from places like the Roof Fund or the Soldiers and Sailors Fund or any other number of monies that you may have available to help them. Because I think that, in the dead of winter now and following up all the COVID job losses, I mean, we've got to have way more than 2 veterans out on the streets at this time. So I think we need to do everything that we can possibly do to help them. So would you check in with maybe Ron Fruit and Don Kiefer to see what they would do for us to help us get this out to the public, to veterans that are in need, maybe with the VFW and the American Legion's help, to kind of bolster this, because like Don was saying, there's a lot of veterans in this community, and most of them do not belong to any of these organizations, the American Legion or the VFW. It's a minute number. So we've got a lot of other people out there that are definitely in need, and we need to find some way to reach them, either via the newspaper or the radio station, which a lot of people listen to. So if you could do that, please make that part of what it is that you do, and hopefully we can reach more people. Any other comments before we move on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to emphasize that Karen needs to run this by our administrator and get his advice and counsel and direction.
Okay, thank you. Sherry, anything further?
This question? You mean, well, yeah, I have a lot of questions, but we don't have time. All the budgetary stuff, again, I'm on a huge learning curve. I don't know what's what. I mean, I see a grant, so it would be helpful for me. It would be helpful to have it delineated out, maybe for our next meeting, in terms of what money this office is responsible for, the Veterans Office. So anyway, I just, I know that I have this, but it's confusing as heck to me. Oh my gosh. So maybe I'm just slow learner. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, for me, I would like to know what monies are available for our veterans and how we can help most. So I'm just on a huge learning curve and would appreciate any help to try to sort out what we've got. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. Karen?
I encourage committee members to come in and ask questions. So if you'd like a kind of a quick catch-up tutorial, just to kind of show you what you're looking at, I promise you are welcome in my office anytime.
If I may interject, Karen, we as a board, all of us need the same knowledge. And for us to stop in one by one is not going to accomplish much. Please be prepared maybe next time to kind of outline, without all the figures, what budget items do we have, and maybe what monies are available in each, so we kind of know what direction we're going in when it comes to dealing with the monies that are available, and how we can do our outreach and do the job that we are here to do. So if you could prepare just a simple outline with the amount of monies available, I think that would be of great help, and I think that's where Sherry was going with this question. Don?
Yes, I would agree with that. Karen used the good words when she said tutorial. And it's a board education word that works well. And so I think prepare a tutorial for the board. From time to time, we should have a presentation by the CVSO as a tutorial. Very, very good suggestion. And I think that addresses not only Sherry's question, but it's a question that is helpful to the whole committee to be refreshed and brought up to date and to be educated.
It was a standing agenda item until my agenda was changed by this committee. So I would be more than happy to put it back on the agenda.
Well, we expect that then. Thank you.
What's that standing agenda item?
On the budget, if we were under budget, over budget, expected numbers, losses, and expenditures,
Well,
and it was removed.
I never saw any numbers on that. All you reported the last time was, well, we're doing fine. Well, there were no numbers.
It was before you were on the committee, Mr. C.
Okay, well, whatever the source of this was, we are starting fresh at this point. There's no debate. We're all in the same path here. So kindly re-establish that We are a new committee with new agenda, new challenges to face. So if you'd please add that. You are in charge of the agenda, and I will add things that I or one of the other members may want to add. And so we cover all these things and we get actual facts and figures. And for us to stop by your office is nice, but we as a committee here right now need to have these things in front of us, and that's why you're being asked to do this. So with that, we're kind of running long. I'd like to move to the next subject. Provide a tally of visitors to the office, incoming calls by veterans or their families seeking help, and veterans who were referred to other CVSOs. So what I was interested in, and over a course of time, I mean, right now it won't mean much, but over the course of time, we can kind of plot, over months where the bulk of the people come in. What day of the week do they come in? When is it that you might need extra help? Maybe you and Peter, there might be certain days that we've got to be sure that both of you are there. And what were the subjects? The second sheet that I had given you was this one. And this one I got from the Vernon County CVSO. And it simply indicated for what purpose each of these veterans had come in. And that kind of gives us an idea what is it that they're seeking? What is it that they need at this time? And that might help us enhance, what services we provide to them or prepare ourselves for that, both yourself and as a committee. So this one I also would like to have you consider filling out so that we have kind of a running record and we've got something we can actually look at and follow. I think that would be of great value to us. Sherry?
Sir, is this a standard form that is available through the state or the county? Probably not the county, but the state, this form that they're using? Do you know?
This form is one that I was given by the CVSO in Vernon County. This is the one that she uses daily, that she provides to her commission.
I guess my question is, versus reinventing a wheel,
Correct.
Then obviously, hopefully there is a standard form that everybody should be using in the state, with regard to these tallies.
I don't know that the state has one, but these are things that various CVSOs around the state develop and many times share with one another.
Yes, hopefully that wouldn't have to be created. It could just be
Exactly. There's no
utilized.
sense redoing something.
Right.
She said to me that this is the one that they use, that they've developed. Other CVSOs that I've spoken with use different forms, but to me this one was the most telling, the most descriptive of what services were actually needed. And the numbers that Karen's provided us now on the sheet that she gave us, we can look at everything so far this particular month. But I'd like to have this done from here on out, month to month, so we can kind of plot, kind of look forward and backward to what it is that's happened and what it is that needs to happen. Sherry, did you have anything more to say? Okay, anyone else? Yes, Van?
Well, that second sheet is probably more important than this one because this one just says numbers. This one tells you what happened.
Correct.
And eventually you can probably tailor that form to fit Richland County because there may be some that should be on there, some that shouldn't be. But that form there is actually more important to know why they're coming in than just numbers saying they came in.
Understood, totally agree. Thank you. Don?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I thought something was missing here. The other form had the categories of assistance.
Correct.
And didn't we approve that and provide it for a report?
I believe we did that two meetings ago, yes.
Karen, did that get lost along the way?
We did not approve a form 2 months ago. It was given to me to look at. Last month is when it was approved, and the form that I am using is the one that was provided to me by the county administrator, who I was told to get the form from. He said that's the one that Lee wanted him to use. And all of this is available in the minutes, and it was also recorded.
Okay, well, that might have been missed in the minutes because these two I did bring to this meeting at the same time. Everybody had copies of them. That's why Don asked about it. So what I'd like to have you do then is to take the second form and include that along with the first form so that, as Van said, we have a better understanding as to why these people came in, what are their needs. And again, we're not prying at anybody's name. We simply want the basic categories that they're looking for. During my time of service, Agent Orange was a big item. And we're beyond that now. We're into other big items like these burn pits, which happened now in Afghanistan and Iraq. And, and these are things that our current veterans, our younger veterans are facing. So as time goes on, each of us face different problems, and we need to address those things. So by using this form or some variation of it that you can alter to fit our purposes here, we need to have this, please. So if you want, I can provide another copy to you, and we need to kind of do both. Sherry, do you have any other comments? Anybody else? Okay. Would you like to go through this form that you passed out to us with the numbers?
Me to read it to you, or?
No, we can read it
Oh, okay.
ourselves. Just kind of describe the basics that you have there. So
Calls and visits.
did you notice any pattern?
No.
Okay, so on the 4th, we had 54 calls, 21 calls on the 5th, 16 on the 6th. And I think over time, as we look at these things, we might be able to pick out a pattern. And like I say, for us to kind of determine what would work best in terms of help with your office and our understanding as to what veterans need. I think that's our whole purpose here. So if you do that, and then I will get this copy to you again. And maybe what we should do is make this a motion that both are used so that there's no question as to what we're meaning. Yeah, we'll do this again. So I move that both these forms that I have in my hand, the one that you filled out, and the other one we can talk about before, but both forms are on the docket, that both be adopted by us here for you to provide for us during the coming meetings. So I move, may I have a second, please? Okay, Sherry Hillisham, say it again,
Hillesheim.
Hillesheim. It's going to take a while. Hillesheim. Yeah, with me, Van Landite, I mean, they get to Van, and when they hesitate, I know it's me. So, anyways, so do you have any questions, Karen? So it's been moved, it's been seconded that we adopt both these sheets to be provided by you at each and every meeting to come. Discussion.
Yes, discussion.
Don?
Karen, I was just, what really strikes me between the eyes is on one day you had 54 phone calls. Is that right? Am I reading that wrong?
First duty day of the year, it's expected that she would get more phone calls
Yes,
that day
well,
than any
well,
other day.
That's what I wanted to know, why there were so many calls on that day.
Okay, so I was instructed by the county administrator, who is my supervisor, that I am to include all emails and any type of fax and phone calls on that number.
I
So
see.
that is faxes, it's phone calls, it's email traffic.
Oh.
So if I have 6 emails with Lee, then that is included in that number.
That's, and on that particular day, there were 54, and then on the 6th, there were only, what is that? I'm going to turn up my magnifier. 16.
Don, speak into the mic, please. Speak
It's
into
just
it.
interesting. I wondered what was going on.
You just turned it off.
Well,
Chair, I think that's why we need the other sheet,
Yes,
because she took 54 calls, but for what?
yeah,
See, and if there's a pattern there that at the first of the month, there's more demand or less demand, at least you know what it's for. That's why the other sheet is so valuable.
okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
discussion? So it's been moved and seconded that we use both forms from here on out as part of our commission consideration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? It's been passed. Okay, we have we've got the DAV and van update. Do you have that, please?
No update, nothing has changed.
Okay. Is there anything there that we need to consider ever? I mean, is it, what's the purpose of a van update? And how does that affect us, our committee, our group,
It was asked to be put on the agenda, just what we've discussed in the past.
yeah.
Mr. B asked for it to be put on the agenda, and it was a standing agenda item.
Okay.
If you would like me to remove it, that's fine.
Well, for what reason was it on the agenda?
Update.
Okay, but we have no update. So what is?
At this time, nothing has changed.
Okay.
There's no additional drivers. There's only one van. It's still currently running. There's nothing has changed from the last month when I gave the van update.
Is there anything there that we need to be concerned with? Is there anything there that we have anything to do with?
No.
So then I'd suggest we just drop it. I mean, if there's nothing we do, there's no sense
Okay,
having it
done.
there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it was put on apparently by the previous committee when the van was approved by the committee as an alternative to the way veterans were being transported. And I understand, I think Karen advised us that there are still some veterans who use other sources other than the van over at Human Services. And so I think that there's no harm in having a report on the van. Suppose that all of a sudden the DAV says, well, we're going to take the van away. Well, we'd want to know about that. If there's any communication from them about the use of the van, we would want to know about that. Our interest is, while we have no control over the van, our interest is in the service of transporting veterans to medical appointments. So we would be interested in ensuring that they have good service and that it's continuous service. It's part of our responsibility by statute to aid veterans and their families and respond to the request for assistance in any manner we can. So I don't see any harm in having that there. If you want to put it under another title, like Veterans Assistance Request or whatever, that's fine. But why would we not want to know how they're doing with the van?
Okay, well stated. Thank you. Sherry, you had a comment?
Seems like it would be helpful to have more information if we are reporting on it. How often was the van used, for how many people? Keeping track of those issues, and are we having issues with the van itself or a driver, that we could help with from this level. Just to have a report in terms of how that side of supporting our veterans is doing. So I think it's valuable if we include those kinds of issues in a report to this body.
We don't have any control over the numbers. That's Madison. It's actually, the van is actually funded from Homeland Security. We have no control over it. I just give an update that due to COVID, the van was not running for a couple of months, or they're still looking for drivers, or it just things like that. But the status has not changed from last month, and so that's why I didn't include that. But the numbers on who rides it and stuff like that, Madison controls that. We don't have any control over that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Karen is correct. We don't have any control. We did have control in this respect, in that this commission, or this committee, I wasn't on the committee at the time, made the decision to utilize the van from DAV as an alternative to the way they were providing assistance. So Mr. Dydluff Jim was on the committee at the time, and he probably can better explain the rationale for doing that. I wasn't there. I don't know the rationale, but if the veterans are satisfied with it and it's doing the job, fine. Now, one thing I want to make very clear, someone started a false rumor that this committee was interested in doing away with the van. That never happened. It was never said, and I don't know where it comes from. Here's someone laughing. This is not funny because it upset a lot of people in the community. False information that was spread over the internet. So we are not interested in doing away with a van. Our only interest is that veterans are being well served by the van. I do understand that there are some veterans who don't like to go on the van. That's their choice. But I don't know what the rationale was. Perhaps Jim can explain that.
Okay, Jim, would you
Mr. Dydluff?
would you care to address that at all? Give us some background.
I don't have any knowledge of anything going on, other than I did hear the rumor, and it was on our agenda item at one time, several months ago. And it's never been the thought of this commission to do away with the ban. Why would we do away with something that we approved and asked for? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't remember
To
hearing.
me, it's a dead issue.
Okay, so it's something Sherry and Don and Van, do you think we should, and Jim, should we keep this just something we can talk about, find out about, kind of look into?
It doesn't hurt anything to have it on there.
Okay,
But
so we have,
You gotta remember the ADRC does probably 3 times as much transporting veterans as the DAV van does.
okay,
But it's still there if somebody needs it, and that's fine. To leave it on the agenda, I guess it's fine. We just don't have any say so.
okay, so by consensus, we're saying keep it on.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted the clarification. Did you just say that a number of veterans are still utilizing the county's service at Human Services through ADRC? Okay, well, that's good. If they have that choice, they can either use the van or they can go over there. That's understandable.
Okay, well, I
And I'm
guess,
sure Karen is aware of that resource.
Yeah.
Right, Karen?
Yes.
so Karen, if you'd keep that on the agenda items to be addressed, and we can kind of, even though we have very little to do with it, it's nice to know about. So we've approached the end. One thing that I want on every agenda item and every minutes item is the name of everyone that's on this commission. At the very top, you've got your name at the top, but people need to know for posterity, who is actually here. You've got
You're talking about the minutes? Right.
the agenda that was just provided to us. Our names are not on there. Karen's name is as a CVSO, but we as committee members, commission members, should have, Lee Van Lande chairman, and then list the other 4 committee members, commission members, so that when you refer to us, people actually know who it is that you're dealing with. I think that's extremely important. You did indicate it on the minutes from our December meeting. You've got them at the top, which is what we talked about, and that's excellent. That's what I want. But on the agenda and on the minutes, I would like all of our names included. Yes, ma'am.
When you leave the meeting today, you can take a minute and look at the board downstairs and to just get some examples. The only reason the header has my name on it is because I'm the Veteran Service Officer and I created the agenda.
Correct.
Okay, so.
So I totally understand. That's no problem.
And you could definitely check out the ones from other offices as examples as to, yes.
Yeah, the minutes has them. But on the agenda and the minutes, I'd like the names of each so that as people look at the agenda, whether they be participating online or here, Sherry's new to the committee and she does not have the names in front of her. So what I'd like to have from here on out is on the agenda and on the minutes, have the names of the participants here as the commission also there so that, you know, as time goes by, a year or 2 or 3 from now, we go back to this if we need to and we actually know who is on the committee. So please add our names to each and myself as being chairman because I want to know who's responsible for the mess. And I will take it, well, I as the chairman actually take it. So is there any further discussion? Anything else we need to cover? We were saving the comments till this time.
What was the process of going through the applications to hire a new member, and who had the final approving authority?
Turn that on and state your name and restate the question.
Freeman, I have a question in reference to the new member process. How much input did the commission have? Who was the final approving authority? And I guess questioning, was the commission involved in the hiring process?
Okay, to answer your question, at our last meeting as part of the member, and you were here, number 17 on the minutes, discussed the county's process in adding a 5th member to this body. And what we did was anyone that is interested in becoming a member of the Veterans Board should submit their name and a letter interest to the Richland County Clerk's office. That would be Victor Vlasic, no later than January 4th at 12 p.m. You were here. There were a number of people that were interested. Those people submitted their names and numbers to Victor, which was picked up by Marty Brewer, who is the chairman of the Committee on Committees. The Committee on Committees was the one that appointed the 5 of us here. And the Committee on Committees then would determine through reading the letters who that person would be. And they selected, we had nothing to do with it. And Sherry, because of her resume and her background, was the one that they selected. In fact, I did not even know until Karen showed me the agenda items that Sherry had even been picked because I wasn't informed. So, Karen?
I speak to this a little bit, just to kind of address the reason I think that this has been brought up is that there were people that tried to submit letters of interest to Victor's office and he refused to take them. And I think that was one of the reasons why this is being brought up. So there was a little bit of confusion on where to submit those letters to, and there were some that weren't turned in on time because they weren't sure of where to send them. So I think that's part of the reason why it's being brought up.
Yeah, my limited knowledge of this is exactly what I just read, because we talked about this at the meeting. In fact, I think you were the one that asked, and we came up with this with the county administrator present. And the only person that was kind of central to this whole process was Victor Vlasic. And that's why we determined that. And I did speak with Victor, and he knew they were coming in. So if you were to refuse that, that's totally beyond our venue. You know, so I don't know what to tell you, but yeah. Yeah, but Okay, he should have been. Well, he's overwhelmed, so it might have been. So, you were all here at the meeting, you know what happened. I don't think any of us had anything to do with that because once we had made that announcement, it was out of our hands. But that would be, Marty Brewer is the chairman of that committee. And I think that's quite a large committee. And you could speak to any of the members as to why this happened that way. But I did the best I could with what we had. And I'm sorry that happened because it was not meant, it was inadvertent, and that's something that, that should have been, everyone should have been considered. So, anything else?
This, I can't speak for Victor. I have no idea that, but this didn't just happen. This goes through two different committees, goes committee on committees and then rules committee. And it finally was approved at the county board. That's three open meetings that all this was presented. It didn't just happen here. It was voted on 3 different times before the last person was selected.
Okay, thank you, Van. Karen?
In the state statutes that it goes straight to the head of the county.
State statutes, I'm telling you what it did do.
Yeah, it didn't go through any of those committees is what I'm trying to
Well,
tell
yes,
you.
it did.
Marty took the applications and he decided.
No, because the county board just voted on it night before last.
And I know the committee on committees voted on it. I asked Sean Murphy Lopez, and he said he didn't recognize any of the names. I had tried leaving a message with Marty, being chairman of this committee, who was named, and he never got back to me. So like I say, until I came to your office the other day and saw the name on the heading there, I had no idea. But Van is right. There's a number of committees that this had to pass through beyond ourselves. And so this whole process is beyond us, except for us telling them that we had one member whose time had run out, that we were in need of somebody to fill that slot, whether it be he or someone else. And that's kind of the direction we had gone with this announcement. So was there anything else? Anybody else? Don?
I just want to say welcome to our new committee member.
Yes.
She comes to us with a very nice background, and we're happy to have her with us. There will be other times when other people will have an opportunity to serve on this committee.
So I second that. And Sherry, welcome to the committee. Thank you for your service and the help that you'll be giving us here and your input. We desperately need a woman on this committee. So thank you. Is there anything further we need to discuss? If not, I'm looking for someone to make a motion to adjourn. Okay.
That.
Van Nelson moves and Jim Deidelhoff seconds that we end this meeting at 11:38 a.m. And thank you very much. Over and out.